Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly interviews. I am Vera with Beauty Queens Galore, the pageant resource, and today we are chatting with Mrs. Pittsburgh International, Tamara Abney. Hello, Tamara.
Hi
She is.
everyone. Hi Vera.
You got to. I'm gonna tell you a rundown of who you are because we've already talked before the show even started. But you are a mother, wife, etiquette trainer, and an advocate for menstrual equality, and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. Because there's so much more to you than that. So we want to thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for coming out and spending a little time with us today.
No, thank you for having me. I am always in awe of all the wonderful beauty queens that you have on your channel. So I'm just happy to be counted in that number.
Absolutely. So speaking of pageantry, how did you get involved in it?
Yeah, you know what? I participated in a pageant probably 12 years ago. And I just remember being first runner up. And I said, you know what? One day I'm going to try it again. So fast forward, years later, I was sitting with my husband. And he just said, why don't you do it? Like, what are you waiting for? You're doing all this wonderful, work. You already had your kids because I'm not having any more. I have two. I'm done. And he was like, just go for it. And I thought about it. I contemplated it. And probably a week later, I signed up for a pageant. So, it's never a bad time to start going after your dreams and even coming full circle to something that you wanted to do a long time ago.
You are so right about that. And the thing about pageantry is once you get in it, there's no going back. So it's just amazing all that you can accomplish. And speaking of that, tell us a little bit more about your platform.
Yeah, so my platform is called Carefree School Days, period, but it's really all about menstrual equity. And I have been doing this work for a very long time. In fact, my organization, Sister Friend, has been around since 2015. So over that time period, we have given out over 500,000, probably close to 750,000 menstrual products. And that includes pads, tampons, panty liners, bras, panties, to not only our local area, but internationally. So I've really been connected to this work, educational workshops, trainings, going into schools, talking to school nurses, partnering with school districts, and, really just gathering with my friends and having conversations. So really entrenched in the work of menstrual equity. And, in fact, I wrote a book. So, just many different pieces and facets to the work to just continue to push the conversation.
And I love that. Like I said, we talked earlier, and I love the fact that this is your platform because I feel as though there needs to be more education around this. Because I know on an international level, you hear about, menstrual equality or inequality in many cases, I should say, but you don't hear it enough here. I really don't think you do. Because like I was telling you, growing up, being in school, doing that cycle week, it was rough, because your body is going through so many changes. You're always worried about the hygiene piece of it. You have heavy days, flow days, and as we know, like you said, you've donated so much, tampons and maxi pads and all those things can be very, very costly, and some people may not even have that, and be able to educate people more about it, especially young boys, like in the school. They don't, feel like that impacts them. But I feel as though if everybody's on board, it just gives those young women the opportunity to have the support that they need. So I really do appreciate you, putting yourself out there to do that. So, but what do you feel like as a whole that we can do more to really spread that education about menstrual health?
Yeah, I think that we need to do more of what we're doing now, just having the conversations. Once you open the door to conversation, then it opens the door to so much more. You're able to talk to your government officials so they can create policy. You're able to go into the schools and help the school nurses understand the issue. I remember doing an in-service day for the nurses. And a lot of them were like, Tamara, well, we don't want to put out all the pads because if we put out all the pads, people will take them. And I said, ta-da, like bingo. You're putting it out there. People are taking them because they need them. If you continue to talk about these things, then it opens people's eyes about it. Vera, the crazy thing I actually thought about today is in society, we talk about blood all the time. We have no problem watching films, we see it on television, we cut our finger, we're not strangers to blood. So it only has a stigma when we're talking about something that affects half of the population. That's crazy, right? And the
It's
more
so
we
true.
don't talk about it, the more it becomes and continues to be stigmatized. You brought up young boys. There's no reason why this isn't taught in, health class. And even as a young woman, you may read a chapter on it and then you move on, right? And usually in health classes, the little girls and the little boys are divided. So little boys don't learn about things that little girls go through, and little girls don't learn things that the boys go through. So there's so many different levels to the equality of it all to make sure that we are learning the same thing, we're understanding each other. And if we don't understand each other, then we can't create change. So we have to make it a full circle moment. It's just not about giving out a pad and tampon. It really is looking at it holistically.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%, which is why I love the fact that you are, putting so much heart and soul into going out, making the efforts to educate them, but you're also using the world of pageantry to be able to do that. So tell us a little bit more about your pageant journey.
Yeah, so I found the Mrs. International system to be just a perfect home for myself and my advocacy efforts. It really is about, it's a system really about being a positive role model, celebrating the accomplishments of the married woman, and also how we can bring our families along. I sat here purposely so you can understand my why. My why is my children and my family, right? Showing them that just because I'm your mommy or I'm your wife, my life doesn't stop. My work doesn't stop. My journey doesn't stop. And I think that's what pageantry tells us and gives us is a gift. It allows us not only to have something for ourselves, right? But it allows us to bring our friends, our family along with this journey, and allows us to amplify what we have to say to people. Because honestly, people pay more attention when you have a shiny hat on and a sash. So it's really an opportunity for us to amplify our work and have a little piece of fun for ourselves.
Absolutely. It is so much fun. I love seeing the Mrs. contestants and title holders. Their husbands are usually their biggest cheerleaders. I see t-shirts sometimes like Mr. So-and-so, and the kids get all involved. It's definitely a family affair. And they're out there right along with you, promoting your platforms and who you are. And I have to ask, being a Mrs. contestant, what do you think is the responsibility that you have when it comes to pageantry as a Mrs.?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said earlier is I think our responsibility as Mrs. title holders is just to be a role model to show that your life does not stop when you get married. I think a lot of times they talk about stigma. You think that, or people think that you get married, you have your children, and that's it. In fact, I went somewhere recently and they asked my husband what he does for work. And then 5 minutes later said, well, do you work? And I'm like, yes, I have like 10 jobs. I work. So, life doesn't stop just because we get married or just because we have children or we may have fur babies or we have a partner. Life goes on. There are things, and we're allowed to have a passion, right? We're allowed to take time for ourselves to get dolled up and, wear a beautiful gown and get on stage. We're allowed to do that. So I think being a Mrs. Contestant really shows people that you are allowed to live life.
Yes, and enjoy it because it's short.
Yes.
That's what I always say, it's short. So, for anyone listening who may not know much about the Mrs. International system, tell us the different categories you have in terms of competition, and when your upcoming state pageant is. Just give us all the details.
Yes, so I am the current Mrs. Pittsburgh International 2024, and I will be competing for the title of Mrs. Pennsylvania International 2024 this coming March 16th in Altoona, PA. So I'm very excited about that. In the final rounds of preparation, getting my wardrobe together. So for those that may not be familiar with the system, we have a couple different phases of competition. It really starts with that private interview, which is so crucial because that is the time period that you're really able to share your heart and share your mission and your advocacy work and make a true connection with the judges. From there, it goes on to the stage work where we'll be able to do, a nice little opening. And then we'll also go into fitness. We have an on stage portion, which is I call it like the on stage interview. So we'll do a statement about our platform, and then they will ask us a question about it. And then, of course, we have the wonderful, fabulous evening gown competition. So I'm really looking forward to each of the phases, but the one part that I'm really excited about is, well, I'm excited about all of it, but the private interview, because that's the time you really get to dig deep into what you're passionate about.
Oh, and it is so true because they get to really hear your heart and soul and everything that you have done. So, in terms of preparation, what has it looked like for you? Because you definitely are a busy woman. I mean, you have a lot on your plate. So, what has
Yeah.
pageant prep been like for you?
Pageant prep has been great, but since I am a busy woman, which most of us are, I am just very thankful to the team that I've built around me. And I think in pageantry, if I could give one piece of advice, it is build a team around yourself. Get yourself a team. Get people that support you, are rooting for you, and can help you because it's really hard to do everything yourself and do it well. So I'm really, really thankful for that. But I started prepping probably last summer. And that's really kind of like getting my mind right. Mindset, so important. But like consistently like picking out pieces of wardrobe, getting advice, starting my fitness journey. Because if you're anything like me in the summer, I didn't do anything, right? So I knew in the fall, I'm like, okay, countdown. I actually need to get back into the gym. So, for me, just taking it step by step. In fact, I had knee surgery in August. So, August, yeah, I believe August. So, I had to kind of learn how to walk again in really tall hills. So, it was really just taking it slow and easing my way back into things. But I'm ready.
I am confident that you are ready and you're going to do an amazing
Thank you.
job. And I cannot wait to see in March. It'll be here before we know it.
I know. I can't believe it's next month.
I know. So I know you mentioned, that sometimes we call it a late bloomer in pageantry because some people had started pageants when they were just little bitty things. And
Yeah.
then the rest of us started later on in life. So do you feel as though there's a right time to start in pageantry?
No, I think you can start at any time. I think back, I would have loved to start early. I would have loved to be Miss Teen, USA. But unfortunately, we just weren't in a financial situation that we could do that. Or I didn't know, right? So education is key. I didn't know anything about sponsors or how you could even go about that. So I remember seeing a flyer I don't even know, I'm 42, so I don't even know what we had. I'm sure it was some form of paper. And I remember seeing an ad for it and just knowing that I would never ask my mom to pay for it. So I think that if you have that dream, if that seed is sowed at an early age, don't be afraid to do it whenever you're ready. Whatever path God has you on, just go for it. And the right time will come for you. Even when you participate in pageants and say it doesn't end up the way you would like it to end up, we're all on this journey, we're all on this path. And I just think that as long as you're learning things along the way and you're developing yourself along the way, you're still winning.
You are so right. There are some things that, a physical crown or sash you can't really get, and everything's internal. Like I said, like you said, it's about the journey. I always say it's not about
Mhm.
the destination. It's about what you're going to learn along the way. Because like you said, God has a plan for you. You just have to keep going, keep growing and
Yeah.
learning through life. And I love how you said that. So let me ask you this. As a pageant resource, Beauty Queens Galore, we're a huge pageant resource, for everyone involved in
Mhm.
pageantry. What would you like to see more of us, in this coming year? What more do you want to see from us?
Um, I love the fact that you're showing diversity in your beauty queens. I think showing more different ages, different races, um, different systems. I think that it just allows people to understand and see themselves through your page. So I think that's, first of all, kudos to you guys because you do that. But I think the more that we can see, it's so important to see yourself. And I think that, that is one of the lessons that I take from pageantry is I know that someone may see me, right? Some little brown skin girl may see me and say, you know what, I can do that. And to me, that's winning. So, if you can instill hope in someone else to go for something or to try, or, a mother may see me and say, hey, I have an idea. I have a cause. I want to do something. I saw Tamara do it. She can, if she can do it, I can do it. So, just continuing to show different perspectives over the course of this year, I think would be great.
Well, thank you. We really do appreciate that. And you're right. You just never know who will gain some type of inspiration just by simply hearing this interview. It could inspire someone to be a part of your platform, or even just go out there and seek a dream that they were afraid to do so. And by seeing you go out and pursue your dreams, it will encourage them to do the same. So I agree with you with that. And thank you. So let me ask you, what do you want to be remembered for?
Um, I want to be remembered for leaving a clear legacy in the realm of menstrual equity. I want to be remembered for taking a chance and tackling an issue that many people would shy away from, and really creating true change and saying, like, that's why the numbers to me or the statistics to me are so important, because I want them to be able to say, you know what, in the course of Tamara's life, she made sure that she delivered 1 million menstrual pads to people, and that directly affected neighborhoods, communities, school systems. Girls were able to go to school because Tamara did the work that she did.
Absolutely. So if you were to win that, let's say you win your
Mhm.
state title, and then you go on to win the, international title, what is going to be your business plan, to really enhance this amazing platform that you have?
Yeah, so over the years, I've been very blessed to work with many different people, right? I've been doing the work for 9 years. So in case everyone didn't know, I am the Pennsylvania period hero, and I have a partnership with Always and Walmart. So, as the next Mrs. International, hopefully, I will continue working with them to make sure that we are not only amplifying the message of menstrual equity, especially when it comes to students, but we are really taking this to an international level and doing some real work there. My vision is for you to walk into a Walmart, be able to see my face with a crown on, a little QR code that you could just scan, and then you could donate, and the funds go directly to educational resources for menstrual hygiene.
I love that. You speak it into fruition and you continue to work hard, and I just love what you're doing, and I really do appreciate you sharing that. That's a great journey to go on. So, let me ask you this. What does
Yep.
winning the crown, outside of winning the crown, what does that look like for you? What is winning for you outside this crown?
You know what? Outside of the crown, outside the advocacy work, what I really win is a lot of friendships. So, as we get older, I mentioned I'm in my 40s. As I've gotten older, my circle of friends has gotten smaller. And I think that happens to all of us, right? And pageantry has allowed me to expand that circle with such wonderful, like minded women, women that I would have never met in my day to day. So, I feel like whenever I step into a pageant, whether I win or lose, which we hope to win, I am gaining friends, and I'm getting wonderful, close friends throughout this journey.
Yes, and they are friends for life. I mean, it doesn't matter what goes on in your life. They're like your cheerleaders. They end up in some people in your weddings, and they're just a part of you. And no matter what happens, like you said, result of the pageant, it doesn't matter. Those friendships do last forever. And I agree with you. Like my closest friends now, we done pageants and we have this understanding. It is like literally a sisterhood.
It
Which
really is a sisterhood,
yeah,
and, I don't think I realized that until I participated in one, and then I started thinking, I'm like, "Oh, this is how people go on reality shows, and they're crying when someone leaves, and you're like they're your competitor, but you grow so close to them, like family members, and then afterwards, they're the ones rooting you on when you go on to your next journey." I have a pageant friend that's coming all the way from Louisiana to Pittsburgh to drive with me 2 hours to go to Altoona just so that she can come to the Mrs. Pennsylvania International pageant and stay there the whole weekend. And she's gonna be like my Kris Jenner, taking pictures, doing social media, but that is friendship, like, that is a bond that cannot be broken. So, pageantry just adds so much to your life, if you allow it and if you're open.
that is so true, and people perceive us, you always get the question, are people mean? I'm like, no, it's quite the opposite. What goes on backstage is we're helping each other get in our gowns or swimsuits or get in our heels or, you know, exchanging snacks, in between. It's like we're
100%.
just cheering each other on, it's not what a lot of people perceive it to be. And I think, as we do get older and more involved in these pageants, we're at a different stage in our life, and it's like we're all in this together because we all have a, like we mentioned before, a journey that
Yeah,
we're going on. So we're going to cheer each other on because no matter the result, we know we're going to still be there for each other. And I just love
100%.
that about pageantry. It's the
Yeah,
best thing ever
it
about
is.
pageantry.
I love it. I love it, and I know that one day I will retire from pageantry, but I will never leave it because I just think it is a wonderful sport. I feel like it builds such character in people, and it really I mean, it's cliche, but it really pushes you to be the best version of yourself. You're the best you are physically, mentally, and you're giving the best of yourself to your community. I mean, how can it get any better than that?
It can't, and you're so right. And you mentioned something, your friend being your Kris Jenner, in terms of social media, and it was something that you and I had talked about as
Yeah,
well. And I was telling you, that I looked on your social media page, and I felt like it was your bio. Like I had it. It was telling a story about who you are, everything you were involved in, and it made me so excited. So when I physically just said hello to you not too long ago, I literally felt like I knew exactly who you were. So tell us about the importance of social media and branding.
Yeah, well, I am not a branding expert by any means, but I do believe that you have to use the tools available to you to get your message out and advocate. So if you're truly doing this, entering into pageantry to elevate your cause, then use all the channels that you can to do so, right? And I know that I only get a short amount of time with the judges at the pageant. So I want them to be able, if they decide to do their research, I want them to be able to feel like they know me when I walk in, right? Like, oh, Tamara, we've been waiting for you. That's the attitude I want them to have when I walk in that room. And I'm not going to be able, I've been doing this work for a very long time. I can't tell them everything, right? I can't educate them on every part about menstrual equity. So if they're able to go to my Instagram page and see the Empowered Period series and maybe they take a look at it, it gives them some background on why I'm passionate. It gives them some background on the issue, the problem, and how I am posing a solution.
And it's so true. Like I said, it just told a story, and I absolutely loved it. And social media, that's the positive aspects of it, as we know. When you're putting yourself out there and doing it in a positive manner, there's so many young, like especially young women that social media is our go-to. It seems to be our biggest networking tool right now, but a lot of times it brings about a lot of negativity. So
Mhm.
what's the best way that we can really educate our young women on social media and how to kind of block out that negative energy that sometimes can take over their social media pages?
Yeah, I think first of all, we need to have one-on-one connections with our young people because we really need to build up their self-esteem and their confidence, right? Because if they're confident in it, then it won't matter what they see, and they'll be able to differentiate what is real and what is unreal, or what is harmful and what they should be consuming. So I think that's the number one thing that we have to do. And then we need to be mindful of what we put on social media. We need to think about, is this something that I would want a young lady to see or a young person to see? Am I feeding into someone's life? Or am I just a part of the noise and part of the confusion that's going out there in this world? So anytime I post something, I try to look at it through the lens of, is this something I would want my child to see? Am I being educational? Am I being helpful? Or am I being harmful? And, unfortunately, I don't really have the opportunity to be harmful because my husband's also a public official. So I try to be extra cautious about what I post. But I feel that if everyone kind of looked at it through that lens, would I want my employer? Would I want my mommy? Or my future husband to see this, then, they'll be okay.
I always say if you have to question yourself if you should post it, don't
Don't post
post it.
don't post it. And you
Just
know
don't.
what? Honestly, we were all young at one point. So I understand. Thankfully, we did not have social media when I was, well, we had MySpace, but we didn't have social media when I was young. So, I'm sure I would have done a lot of stupid things. But I think that we as adults or as older women have the opportunity to really truly be role models for the younger people to help them make better choices.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, what is the greatest advice you think you have received thus far
In general,
in general?
the greatest advice to just be yourself. You know, I think
Just that
it's,
simple. I mean, yes.
yeah, I mean, it's really just that simple, just to be yourself. I think when we try to be other people or what other people want us to be, we just start going down this dangerous rabbit hole. So I think just to learn to be confident in what you bring to the table and trust in that, I think is the greatest advice I've been given and what I try to live my life by. I mean, we all have doubts, we all have insecurities, but if you kind of go and you go back to that and use that as your North Star of just be yourself, follow your heart and your advice, and follow your gut, you'll never go wrong.
You can't go wrong. So let me ask you, because you busy. There again, you busy. So my question for you is, how do you find that balance and that me time, which is so important? So how do you do it?
Yeah, so I get asked this question literally all the time. And I have to say that no is a complete sentence in my life. I will say no to something in a minute. And also, I prioritize what is important to me. So if it does not rise to the level of this is a priority on my list, I just say no. And I think that that's a lesson within itself because a lot of times, especially us as women, we feel like we have to say yes to everything. We have to people please. We have to, you asked me to make this appearance, you asked me to speak here. I had to learn how to say no. And I also really time manage myself. I am a mother of a 2-year old and a 4-year old, if you couldn't tell by this artwork. So I have two busy little boys. So I know for me, between the hours of usually 5 and 8, I'm not doing anything. So I'm happy to be here with you guys. I really don't do anything because that is picking up from daycare, making sure dinner is together, and baths and bedtime. So I try to, if I'm doing like consulting work, or I have to do emails for a business for my business, I usually do that after 8:30. My husband is usually at the state capitol half the week. So that actually gives me some free time because when he's away, usually I'm like laying in the bed, I have the TV on and I just kind of crank out work. So really just kind of thinking through your day and having a manageable schedule that you control is very helpful to kind of balance it all.
Yes, I'll be honest. I love when you said no as a complete sentence. I just, I'm like that just hit, and it is so true. It's okay to say no, and definitely okay to put yourself first. I love that. And by the way, to be 2 and 4, their artwork is amazing. Okay,
Thank
let's
you.
just give them props.
Thank you. And this is a part of building self-confidence in young people because I mean, believe me, there's a number of artwork that goes into the permanent file cabinet, I'll say. But I wanted to make sure that they felt celebrated even at a very young age to say like, look what you did. This is your art gallery. And watching the pride on their face when you like take the tape and they're like, mommy, put it there, put it there. I mean, it's kind of cool. So I do have a box. I mean, I do have the permanent file cabinet, but I also do have a box of artwork as well that hasn't made it to the wall. But maybe I'll rotate it out one day.
I love it. I think it's so adorable. Like I said, I would have never guessed that, 2 and 4. I mean, they did a great job. We gotta,
Thank
like I said, I
you.
gotta give them props. They're so
I
cute.
will let them know. I will let
Let
them
them
know.
know they did a great job. Even just show them the interview and say, look.
One day they'll appreciate it and they'll say, my mommy was so proud of me. She put me on camera. She sat here on purpose so that the world could see their wonderful work. But I'm proud of them, and that's really when I say they're my why, legacy is important, but I really just want my sons to be proud of me and say, like, hey, my mommy helped change the world.
And I know for sure they're going to be very proud of their mommy. No doubt. So let me ask you, do you have any like hobbies or anything that you're working on yourself right now? Because I know you're busy, but is there anything that you would just do when you have a little bit of time, that you like to work on or something you like to do?
Okay, this sounds probably going to sound crazy, but right now I'm fascinated by being a semi quasi vegetarian vegan, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So it kind of goes along with pageantry, but I'm digging down the rabbit hole. I've been watching documentaries on it. I've been looking for meat substitutes. So that is my hobby right now, trying to figure out a great diet for me and probably my husband because my kids are not going to subscribe to it. But I think it's fun and I'm learning different ways to cook and enjoy food that is not meat based.
Oh, see, that's a whole different journey for sure. It's a completely new journey. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel better. So when we're talking about things that you're doing for yourself, it could be your health, right? It could be finding a new skin routine or saying, I'm going to get an extra hour of sleep. For me, it's how can I make my body work better for me and not against me? And one way I am learning to do that is through my diet.
I love that. And you hinted on your babies, they're 2 and they're 4. So I take it, with everything you have going on and then preparing for a state pageant, you mentioned daycare and, childcare and everything like that. How is it with their schedules with everything that you have? I know you said from like the 5 to 8 period, you can get things done, but a course of the day, I guess I want to just say, take me through the day in the life of what it's like for you with those toddlers, and trying to achieve
Yeah.
everything that you have.
Yeah. So thank goodness for daycare. So I get up probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock, get them out of the bed. We're doing short breakfast because they do get breakfast at school, but they're getting like toast with jam. Or, my son, if you give him a croissant, he'll eat a croissant because he's a little bougie. And so he's getting a quick, yes, I gave him a croissant one time and he like was all about it. And I was like, where did this kid come from? But they get a quick little breakfast and they're out the door by 8 o'clock. And then I am preparing for my day. I do have a 9 to 5. I am the vice president of community relations for a nonprofit that's based here at Pittsburgh Entrepreneurs Forever. So I'm doing that. And then usually I'm picking them up by 6 o'clock. We're doing dinner, baths, books. Then they're off to bed by around 8. And then either if my husband's home, I'm spending time with him. We're catching up on some HGTV shows, usually HGTV shows. And then we're probably in bed by like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at the latest, because we're just tired. I mean, kids, whether they're with you all day or not, are exhausting. So that is usually my day. And sometimes, maybe if he is home, I may have a professional development contract that I'm doing. So I may be at a university from like 4 to 5 or 4 to 6, doing some kind of like etiquette dinner. And then usually I'm still home by that kind of like by bedtime. So that's kind of like the compass we use, whether he has an event outside or I have an event, we really try to be home by that bath time, bedtime, to put our kids to bed.
I love it. And I wanted you to share that, for those women, those moms right now who are listening, they're contemplating, wanting to do that pageant and this, that, but can I, and having the kids, can I do it? You've just explained that it's possible you can do it. You just make it happen, like you said,
100%.
and get you some sleep early. Just go to bed early.
Yeah. I mean, you really could do it. And you may say, okay, Tamara, you didn't break down any pageant prep in that. When you are prepping for when I am prepping for a pageant, I'm thinking about it all day anyways, right? When I'm talking to somebody, this to me is prepping for a pageant. You're asking me questions, I'm giving you answers, right? It's helping me develop myself in all different ways. So maybe I'm walking as I'm taking a meeting. I bought a treadmill that you slide right under the couch. In fact, it's under this futon in my kids' playroom. So I may take a meeting during the day and I'm walking on the treadmill, or I'm at lunch or, my lunch break, and I go to a studio that sponsors me and I do a quick walking practice, or I'm checking emails and people are sending me, clothing options, or, weekends are great for kind of planning out like wardrobe or shopping and online shopping. You do that anytime, right? I'm sure you're doing it at work, everyone. So, so we're not going to act like we're not shopping when we should be doing work, because we are. So there's ways to truly fit that in. And then if you're working with coaches, maybe interview coaches, you really just schedule that. Maybe you schedule at the end of the day. Maybe you get off work at 5, you don't pick up your kids till 6. So that 5 to 6 time period, I may be meeting with a coach. So there are definitely ways to work in your pageant prep as you go about your day.
That is so true. You just have to learn how to intertwine it. Like you said, just do segments of it. Instead of the big chunks that a lot of people may see, just do, like you said, just those small segments and incorporate it in your day. So the moral of the story is, if you want to do it, you can, ladies. Just go.
No excuses.
Take
no
that
excuses.
chance.
If you really want to do something right, I think I heard a quote recently, where your focus goes, energy flows, right? So when you focus on something and that is your ultimate goal, you will make it happen. If you want your social media to be popping, then you will think ahead to what you can post, right? You will think ahead, how can I make the most impact? And when can I schedule all of this stuff so that every day I'm not worrying about it, right? So, plan out those photo shoots and say, okay, I have this day off. I'm going to fly over here for a day. I flew to Chicago to work with like Constantine and Maddie. Literally, I flew out at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was back probably around 8 o'clock in the evening. So if you want to get something done, you can get something done like in and out, same day, boom. And then you have your content, right, to work from. You have your photos for your social media. You have your photos for your ad page. So you really just have to prioritize and find the time to focus on the things that you want to do.
That is so, so very true. But before you leave, we got to play a little game.
Yeah, I love games.
This is a fun, interactive game called This or That. Okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. You get it. There may be one where you like, I'll let you slide and have both, but
Okay.
just one. But it's this or that. A dress with a slit or without?
With.
Ooh. Natural brows or filled brows?
Filled.
Dress or jumpsuit?
Jumpsuit.
Gotta love a jumpsuit. Jeans or leggings?
Jeans.
Okay.
Even though I have leggings on right now, they're comfortable. They're in the mom attire, but jeans.
That's true. Okay. Ooh, interview or on stage question?
Interview.
Gotta have that interview.
Yeah.
Ooh. Early bird or night owl?
At this point in my life, I'm going to go with neither, but I'm going to say you told me I had to pick one. So
That's right.
I am going to go with early bird because I'd rather just get up in the morning if I really, really needed to versus I don't want to be up at 2:00 in the morning.
Understood. Yeah, that's one I'll let you can slide on that one. Oh, first pageant with or without a coach?
With. Now, my first pageant, I did not have a coach. If I had to give anyone advice on their first pageant, get a coach.
Agree. I agree with that.
It's worth it.
It is worth it, just to get that, make sure you go in there confident and knowledgeable. Yeah. Natural glam or full glam?
Full. Give me all the makeup, all the eyelashes, all the hairspray, and all the extensions. Even though this year I'm wearing my natural hair, but I love a weave. So bring it all on.
Bring it. Bring the hair. Let it flow. Let's do it. Okay, sash or crown?
Whoa, that's a hard one.
That's tough.
I'm going to go with sash. I think a sash is universally accepted. Like you're always going to wear your sash, right? Sometimes a crown isn't always needed, but your sash is always needed.
Yes. Have that.
And your sash usually has bling on it. So it works.
A blinged out sash goes a long way. Yes. So do you prefer nude or red lipstick?
Actually, I prefer nude, but usually with like a little tint of like pink or purple. I usually don't go this red. So I'm going to go with nude.
Okay. I agree with that. And sometimes you go outside the box depending. I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask.
Okay.
East Coast or West Coast?
I'm going to go with East Coast. Now I'm from Pennsylvania, which is kind of like East Coast Midwest, but I was just in the West Coast and it's not all that it's cracked up to be. I was in San Diego literally, I think yesterday, and it was raining. And I thought the song said it didn't rain in Southern California, and they lied because
Tony, come on now.
Tony told me in 1992 that it didn't rain in Southern California, and it was raining, almost flooding. So I'm going to go with East Coast, but I truly have love for both.
That was a good one. Okay, my last one for you is, do you prefer wearing a jacket or a hoodie?
A jacket. A hoodie's comfortable, but a jacket.
Gotta have a good jacket.
Yeah.
Well, I thoroughly have enjoyed talking with you. I mean, you're such a ray of sunshine.
Oh, thank you.
It's been so much fun. You've learned so much. And, I want to thank you again for, coming out and giving us so much insight on who you are and what we can expect from you. So if you don't mind, let our viewers know how they can stay connected with you so they can see what's coming up next for you.
Yes. So feel free to follow me on Instagram. It's really easy, everyone. Tamara Abney, at Tamara Abney, just my name. So feel free to follow me there and follow my journey. I try to keep it up as updated as possible. And, so many good things are coming up with the, upcoming pageant. So I'm really looking forward to just sharing more about myself, my family, and my advocacy there.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again so much, Tamara, for taking the time to come out and join us. And I also want to thank all of our viewers for taking the time out of their evening to join us as well. And this has been Vera with Beauty Queens Galore, the pageant resource. And until next time, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Good evening, everyone.
Bye.